The stars looked different from this far out. Captain Lisa Wright stood on the bridge of the Starseeker, watching the vast darkness beyond Neptune. After 3 months in deep space, the routine survey mission was almost complete. She was ready to go home. "Captain, we're picking up something strange," said Officer Dan Miller, his eyes fixed on the scanner. "Energy signature. Nothing like I've seen before." Lisa moved to his station. "Natural phenomenon. No way. Too regular. Too perfect." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what this could mean. After decades of searching the stars, humanity might finally have its answer. "Keep us at safe distance. Alert the crew," Lisa ordered. Her heart beat faster, but her voice stayed calm. "Let's not rush into anything we don't understand." Within an hour, they saw it. A ship gliding through space like a crystal arrow, giving off a soft blue light. It was clearly built by minds very different from human ones. "They're sending some kind of signal," said Kate Winters, the communications expert. Her fingers moved quickly over her console. I think they're trying to talk to us." The main screen flickered, and then showed a face. At least, they thought it was a face. Large eyes, no nose, a small mouth. Skin that looked like polished jade. "Greetings, humans of Earth vessel," it said in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Zix of the Viridian Collective, representing the Galactic Concord. We have been watching your world for some time." Lisa stepped forward. "I am Captain Lisa Wright of the Earth exploration vessel Starseeker. We welcome peaceful contact." The alien's mouth formed what might have been a smile. "Peace is indeed our goal, Captain. My people have observed Earth's development for many of your decades. We believe the time has come to formally invite humanity to join the greater galactic community." Over the next few hours, Lisa and her crew learned about the Galactic Concord, an alliance of 27 different intelligent species who had been sharing the stars for thousands of years. The Viridians explained how faster-than-light travel worked, showed images of wonderful alien worlds, and spoke of technologies that seemed like magic. But something wasn't right. Lisa noticed how the aliens kept their distance, how they watched the humans closely when they thought no one was looking. There was fear there, hidden behind their polite words. "You seem concerned about us," Lisa finally said. "Why?" Ambassador Zix went quiet for a moment. "Your species is unique, Captain Wright. Most intelligent life evolves away from certain traits as they advance. Humans have not." "What traits?" asked Officer Miller. "Your response to danger, your capacity for rapid adaptation under threat, your persistence. These qualities make humans both valuable and concerning potential allies." Before the Starseeker returned to Earth, Ambassador Zix requested a private meeting with Lisa. In her small office, the alien seemed even more nervous than before. "Captain, I must share a warning before we proceed with formal relations," Zix said quietly. "In our long history, we have encountered beings with capabilities similar to humans. They were few, and they are gone now." "What happened to them?" Lisa asked. "They destroyed themselves, or others destroyed them out of fear." The alien's large eyes fixed on hers. "Your species possesses what we call the Berserk factor, a dangerous gift, a survival trait that most beings outgrow, but humans have perfected. I don't understand. When threatened beyond a certain point, humans become something else, something most species cannot comprehend or predict." Zix moved closer. "My final advice before we meet your leaders. Your place in the galaxy will be secured, but also feared, if this trait becomes widely known. It would be best for all if it remained dormant." As the alien ship disappeared into the darkness, Lisa looked at the message crystal they had left. Humanity's invitation to the stars. But all she could think about was the strange warning. What exactly did these aliens fear about humans? And were they right to be afraid? The journey back to Earth would take weeks. Humanity's first contact with alien life would change everything. But Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that they were being welcomed with both open arms and carefully hidden fear. She had a feeling they would find out why soon enough. 5 years passed quickly. Earth had changed more in that time than in the previous century. Sleek alien buildings now stood in major cities. Strange plants from other worlds grew in special gardens, and humans were learning to be part of something much bigger than themselves. Jack Foster watched the Viridian ship land smoothly on the embassy grounds. As the human liaison at the Concord Embassy, it was his job to welcome visitors from across the galaxy. But even after 5 years, the sight of alien ships still amazed him. "Never thought I'd trade my Marine uniform for a diplomat suit," he said to no one in particular. The ship's door opened, revealing 2 tall Viridians and what looked like a walking plant from the Zora system. Jack put on his professional smile and stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth," he said, making the formal greeting gesture. "The Concord Embassy is honored by your presence." Later that day, Jack sat in a meeting where the aliens discussed technology sharing. He noticed something odd. Whenever military tech came up, the aliens changed the subject. It had happened before, but today it seemed more obvious. "Ambassador Kell," Jack said during a break, "Earth has shared all our technology as required by the treaty, but we've noticed some areas where the Concord seems hesitant to reciprocate." The tall Viridian looked uncomfortable. "Some technologies must be shared carefully, Mr. Foster. The Concord has learned this through painful experience." Jack wanted to ask more, but the meeting resumed. The pattern was clear. Humans were welcome in space, but not with certain weapons. Across town, Dr. Susan Nichols was having a different kind of revelation. In her lab at the Joint Species Medical Center, she stared at test results that didn't make sense. "Run it again," she told her assistant. "These numbers can't be right." But after the 3rd test, she had to accept it. Human stress responses were fundamentally different from every other species in the Concord database. When threatened, she explained to her team later, most intelligent species evolved to either freeze or run. Their bodies shut down non-essential functions. But humans, she pointed to the brain scans. "We get stronger, more focused. Our bodies actually work better under threat." Her colleague, a blue-skinned Meridian doctor, looked troubled. "This explains much about your history." That evening, Jack attended a diplomatic dinner. The food was strange, a mix of Earth cuisine and alien dishes the humans could safely eat. The wine, at least, was familiar. While getting another drink, Jack overheard 2 alien delegates speaking in low voices. He shouldn't have been able to understand them. They were using a Concord language rarely taught to humans. But Jack had always been good with languages. "Cannot understand why the Council insists on including the Berserkers in deep space missions," one said. "Agreed. Have you seen the historical records? When cornered, they fight beyond all reason." The other replied, "What happens if they activate in space? Who will contain them?" Jack cleared his throat loudly. The aliens turned, clearly surprised to be understood. "Excuse me," Jack said politely. "I couldn't help overhearing. Who are you calling Berserkers?" The aliens looked at each other nervously. Finally, the taller one spoke. "It is nothing personal, Mr. Foster. Every species has their unique traits. Humans simply have one that makes others cautious." "And what trait is that?" "Your kind calls it many things. The battle mind, fighting spirit, the zone. In ancient times, berserker rage." The alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Most species lose such traits as they become civilized. Humans have kept theirs. And if our history is correct, you have made it stronger." Jack thought about his time in the Marines, about stories from every human war, about how humans could sometimes do impossible things when pushed too far. "You're afraid of us," he realized. "Not afraid," the alien corrected, respectfully cautious. "There is a difference." As Jack left the party, he called Susan. They needed to talk. Something much bigger than technology sharing was happening. The aliens weren't just being careful with new allies. They were treating humans like someone would treat a sleeping predator, with great care and greater fear of what might happen if it woke up angry. The emergency alarms woke Commander Peter Rice from a deep sleep. He jumped out of bed and grabbed his uniform, years of military training taking over. The ship's AI spoke calmly despite the blaring sirens. All senior officers report to the bridge. This is not a drill. 5 minutes later, Peter stood on the bridge of the Earthrise, the first joint human Concord ship under human command. On the main screen, a star map showed 3 red dots moving through Concord space. "Report," Peter ordered. 3 ships of unknown design attacked the research station in the Proxima system, said First Officer Linda Harris. "They're not responding to signals and have already destroyed 2 Concord patrol vessels. Any ID on the attackers?" The ship's alien science officer, a tall purple-skinned being named Zell, looked up from his station. The energy signatures match reports of Kurak coalition vessels. Peter had heard of the Kurak, an alliance of aggressive species from the far side of Concord space. Until now, they had been just rumors and briefing notes. "The Concord Council is meeting right now," Linda added. "Early reports suggest they might abandon this sector entirely." Peter frowned. "There are 5 colony worlds in this sector, plus the research station. How many people are still at the station?" 42 scientists, mostly Viridians, but 7 humans too. Peter made his decision quickly. "Plot a course to the research station. Maximum speed." Zell looked alarmed. "Commander, Concord Protocol demands withdrawal when outnumbered. The Kurak have 3 battle cruisers, and they have 42 innocent people who need help," Peter replied. "I'm not leaving them to die." The Concord Council disagreed with Peter's plan. Their faces filled the communication screen, representing a dozen different species. All looked worried. "The Earthrise is not authorized for combat missions," said the Viridian counselor. "Return to Earth space immediately." "With respect," Peter argued, "we're the closest vessel. By the time you send proper combat ships, everyone at that station will be dead." After heated debate, the council reluctantly agreed, but with one condition. 2 Viridian observers, Kal and Nim, would join the mission to monitor the situation. Peter knew what they really meant, to monitor the humans. As the Earthrise sped toward the research station, Communications Officer Olivia Hayes showed the Viridian observers to their quarters. Kal, the elder of the 2, seemed especially tense. "This mission is most unwise," Kal said. "The Kurak are dangerous. So are people who leave others to die," Olivia replied. Kal studied her face. "You do not understand. The Concord has existed for 12,000 years through careful diplomacy and avoiding unnecessary conflict. Where I come from, protecting innocent lives isn't unnecessary. That thinking is precisely what concerns us." Kal lowered his voice. "Your history is filled with stories of human defenders performing extraordinary feats when protecting others, things that defy normal limitations. You say that like it's a bad thing. It is when those feats cannot be explained by science, when they suggest capabilities that might be uncontrollable." Kal's large eyes fixed on hers. Other species who observed Earth's wars noted that humans become unpredictable when cornered. "You call it heroism. We call it something else." Before Olivia could respond, the ship's AI announced their arrival at the research station. On the bridge, the main screen showed a horrifying sight. The beautiful ring-shaped station was partially destroyed, with 3 black ships surrounding it. "Life signs?" Peter asked. "Faint readings from the central hub," Linda reported. "Some people are still alive in there." Peter looked at the Kurak ships. They were bigger than the Earthrise, with weapons already powering up. The odds were terrible. "Battle stations," he ordered. "We're going in." As the Earthrise moved forward, the 2 Viridian observers exchanged worried glances. They had been warned about humans in battle. Now they were about to see it firsthand. "Evasive maneuvers," Commander Peter Reyes ordered as the first enemy shots blazed past the Earthrise. The ship turned sharply, engine straining. "Their weapons are more advanced than our shields can handle," Linda warned from her station. "We can't win a direct fight." Peter studied the battle display. The 3 Karak ships were spreading out, trying to trap the Earthrise between them. But they were also leaving a small gap in their formation near the damaged research station. "We don't need to win," Peter said. "We just need to get our people inside that station." He hit the ship-wide communication button. "Lieutenant Alan Martinez, report to the bridge immediately." Alan was the youngest officer on the ship, but also one of the best. A former rescue specialist with Earth's Space Force, he had joined the Concorde mission for the adventure. Now that adventure was turning deadly. "Sir," Alan said when he arrived, standing tall despite the ship shaking from another near miss. "I need a small team to board that station and evacuate the scientists," Peter explained. "You'll take our fastest shuttle while we distract the Karak ships." KL, the Viridian observer, stepped forward. "This plan violates all Concorde safety protocols." "Note your objection," Peter replied without looking at him. "Lieutenant Martinez, pick 3 crew members and prepare for immediate launch." Minutes later, as the Earthrise engaged the enemy ships in a dangerous dance, a small shuttle slipped away from its underside. Inside, Alan and 3 crew members, Specialist Ben Howard, Engineer Sam Wilson, and Medic Fiona Kelly, prepared for the rescue mission. "Stay calm and follow the plan," Alan told his team. "We get in, find the survivors, and get out while the Earthrise keeps those Karak ships busy." The shuttle docked at an emergency airlock on the station's damaged ring. The team entered wearing light combat suits, weapons ready. The inside of the station was a mess. Broken equipment, flashing emergency lights, and signs of a desperate fight. "Life signs this way," Fiona said, checking her scanner. Multiple readings, some Viridian, some human. They moved quickly through the dark hallways, finding bodies of station staff along the way. Some had been killed by weapons, others by explosive decompression when sections of the station were breached. In the central lab area, they found the survivors. 28 scientists huddled behind sealed doors, terrified but alive. Among them was Dr. Carol Reed, the human lead researcher. "Lieutenant, thank goodness," she said when they broke through. "We thought everyone had abandoned us." "Not a chance, Doctor. We need to move quickly," Alan replied. Then he noticed what the scientists were protecting. A large metal container with strange markings. "What is that?" "Our research, ancient weapons technology recovered from a dead world. That's what the Karak are after," Carol explained. "We can't let them have it." Before Alan could respond, his communication device crackled. "Lieutenant, we've lost contact with the Earthrise," Ben reported. "And I'm picking up multiple signals inside the station. We're not alone." Suddenly, the lights went out completely. When the emergency backups came on seconds later, they revealed 6 tall, armored figures blocking the path back to the shuttle. The Karak boarding party had found them. "Humans," the lead figure said in a harsh, translated voice. "Surrender the research and your lives will be spared." Alan looked at his team, just 4 of them against 6 heavily armed Karak soldiers. He looked at the terrified scientists they had come to save. He thought about the Earthrise, possibly destroyed while creating this rescue chance. Something changed in Alan's eyes. The Viridian scientists noticed it first, shrinking back slightly. It wasn't fear or panic they saw. It was a cold, focused clarity that seemed to transform him. "Get the scientists to the secondary evacuation point," he told his team quietly. "I'll handle this." "But sir," Sam whispered, "there are 6 of them." Alan checked his weapon calmly. "Then it's a fair fight." As Alan stepped forward to face the Karak soldiers, the Viridian scientists watched with a mix of horror and fascination. They were seeing what their people had feared for years, a human entering what their ancient texts called the battle mind. The first trigger of the Berserker state had been pulled. The recording spread across Concord space faster than any virus. Every species watched in silence as Lieutenant Alan Martinez, a single human soldier, moved against 6 Kurak warriors with a speed and precision that seemed impossible. The station's security cameras had captured everything. How Alan had dodged plasma bolts that should have killed him. How he had used the environment in ways no combat simulator had ever predicted. How his eyes had remained calm and focused while his body performed beyond all normal limits. In 20 minutes, Alan had neutralized a force 3 times his size, protecting the scientists and securing their research. When the Earth race finally broke through the Kurak blockade and rescued them all, Alan had simply returned to normal, as if nothing unusual had happened. Now, 3 weeks later, Greg Collins sat in an uncomfortable chair before the Viridian High Council. As Earth's ambassador to the Concord, he was facing the consequences of what they were calling the Martinez incident. "The Council has reviewed the evidence," said the lead counselor, her green skin pale with concern. "We find ourselves troubled." "My government doesn't understand your concern," Greg replied carefully. "Lieutenant Martinez saved 28 lives. His actions were heroic. His actions were impossible," another counselor said. "No known species can move that way, can think that clearly under such stress. It confirms our oldest fears about humans." Greg felt the tension in the room. Ever since the incident, other species had begun treating humans differently, some with new respect, others with obvious fear. At diplomatic functions, conversations stopped when humans entered rooms. "Ambassador Collins," the lead counselor continued, "are you familiar with the Raxus conflict?" Greg shook his head. 10,000 years ago, a species called the Raxus nearly destroyed galactic civilization. They possessed a trait similar to what we now observe in humans, the ability to enter a heightened state of combat awareness that defied biological limits. They called it battle trance. We called it berserker rage. Images appeared on the wall, ancient recordings of beings fighting with terrible efficiency. The Raxus were contained only at great cost. The counselor explained. Some believe they were eliminated entirely. Others say they simply disappeared. But their legacy remains, a warning about species that carry the berserker trait. Greg stood up, angry now. "Humans are not the Raxus. We don't seek conflict. Lieutenant Martinez was protecting innocent lives. That is what concerns us most," the counselor replied. "Your triggers are unpredictable. You become most dangerous when protecting others." Across the galaxy on Earth, Dr. Susan Nichols was making a breakthrough. After studying Alan's medical scans, she had a theory about the berserker state. "It's not rage at all," she explained to Jack Foster in her lab. "Look at these brain patterns. When Alan fought those Kurak soldiers, his emotional centers actually calmed down. It's the opposite of rage." Jack studied the scans. "Then what is it?" "I think it's a form of hyperfocus. Time perception changes. Threat assessment improves. The brain processes information faster." Susan pointed to different areas of the scan. "Other species evolved away from this. Humans kept it and refined it. So when the aliens talk about berserkers, they're missing the point." Jack asked. "Exactly. They think it's about losing control, but it's actually about perfect control." Susan looked troubled. That might be even scarier to them. Meanwhile, in a darkened chamber on a distant world, the Kurak leadership watched the same recording of Alan's fight. But unlike the Concord species, they weren't afraid. They were fascinated. "These humans," said the Kurak commander, his scaled face lit by the screen's glow. "They could be useful to us." "How do we capture such beings?" asked his lieutenant. "We don't need all humans. Just one who has shown the ability." The commander smiled, showing sharp teeth. "This Lieutenant Martinez, or perhaps this communications officer who witnessed it, Olivia Hayes. They will show us how to unlock the berserker state." The Kurak plan was simple: kidnap, study, weaponize. What they didn't understand was that kidnapping humans would trigger exactly what they hoped to study, and that would be their biggest mistake. Olivia Hayes woke up in darkness. Her head hurt and her mouth felt dry. She tried to move her arms, but they were bound to the cold metal chair she sat in. Slowly, memories came back. She had been walking to her apartment on the Concorde space station when someone had grabbed her from behind. A door opened, filling the room with harsh light. 3 Kurak soldiers entered, followed by a taller figure in elaborate armor. Communications Officer Hayes, the tall one said. "Welcome to our research facility. The Concorde will come looking for me," Olivia said, keeping her voice steady despite her fear. "We are counting on it," the Kurak replied. "But first, we have questions about your kind, about what happened on the research station." Over the next few days, they showed her recordings of Alan's fight. They asked endless questions about human biology, about training methods, about how to trigger what they called the combat trance. Olivia told them nothing useful. Then they brought in other prisoners, 2 Viridian scientists captured from another research outpost. The Kurak commander smiled at Olivia. "Perhaps you need motivation to cooperate." What happened next would become another recording that shocked the galaxy. As the Kurak began to torture the Viridians, something changed in Olivia. The scientists saw it first. The same cold focus they had seen in Alan's eyes weeks before. When the guards came to return Olivia to her cell, they found her restraints empty. 3 Kurak soldiers lay unconscious on the floor. The prisoners were gone. Security footage showed impossible movements, perfect timing, and a human woman who seemed to know what her enemies would do before they did it. Back on Earth, Dr. Eric Reynolds studied the data from both Alan and Olivia's incidents. As the head military scientist assigned to understand the Berserker phenomenon, he was making disturbing discoveries. "It's not simple adrenaline," he explained to a room full of human and alien officials. "The Berserker state represents a complete neural shift. Brain activity patterns change. Reaction time improves by up to 400%. Decision-making becomes nearly perfect." "Can all humans do this?" asked a nervous Viridian diplomat. "Potentially, yes, but the trigger seems to be specific. Extreme threat to oneself or others one feels responsible for." Eric showed brain scans on the large screen. "What's most interesting is that unlike historical accounts of battle rage, this state is cold, calculated, and incredibly efficient. Can it be controlled?" Ambassador Collins asked the question everyone was thinking. "That's what we don't know yet," Eric admitted. So far, both Lieutenant Martinez and Officer Hayes returned to normal afterward with no ill effects, but we have limited data. While scientists studied the phenomenon, politicians argued about what to do. The Concorde Council debated containing the human problem. Some suggested restrictions on human movement in space. Others wanted humans confined to their solar system entirely. The Kurak, meanwhile, had not given up. After Olivia's escape, they became even more determined to understand and control the Berserker state. Their spies gathered information on human military personnel, looking for more test subjects. Ambassador Greg Collins knew time was running out. He met secretly with Jack Foster in a secure room at the Earth Embassy. "The Council is afraid," Greg said quietly. "Some members are suggesting extreme measures." Jack nodded. "And the Kurak want to use us as weapons. We're caught between 2 bad options." "I have a plan," Greg replied. "We'll offer the Concorde a compromise. Voluntary restrictions on our military presence in exchange for full technological cooperation. Will that work?" "It buys us time." Greg looked out the window at the stars. "Meanwhile, we prepare Earth's defenses, because sooner or later, either the Concorde or the Kurak will decide humans are too dangerous to exist." What neither human knew was that events were already in motion that would force the galaxy to witness humanity's full potential and their worst fears. The Kurak attack came without warning. 50 warships appeared near Earth, their weapons already charging. Earth's defense fleet moved to intercept them, but they were outnumbered. "This is Admiral Steve Adams of Earth Defense." He broadcast to the approaching fleet. "You are entering protected space. Turn back immediately." The only answer was the first volley of energy weapons, striking 2 human ships and destroying them instantly. In the command center beneath Geneva, President Kelly Williams watched the battle unfold on giant screens. Beside her stood Ambassador Zix, who had returned to Earth when the Concorde detected the Kurak fleet's movement. "Your people face a difficult choice," Zix said quietly. "Surrender or face destruction." "There's a third option," Kelly replied. "We fight." Against such odds, the Kurak have studied warfare for millennia. They chose this moment carefully. While most of the Concorde fleet is dealing with other threats they created as distractions. Kelly looked at the Viridian with calm determination. They may understand warfare, but they don't understand humans. Across Earth and its colonies, an emergency signal activated on every device. A simple message appeared. Earth is under attack. This is not a drill. In space, Commander Peter Ries on the Earthrise saw 3 Kurak ships targeting a civilian habitat with thousands of people inside. His ship was already damaged from earlier fighting. "Intercept course," he ordered. "Put us between those ships and the habitat." "Sir, our shields are at 15%, his officer warned. "We can't survive their combined firepower." Peter nodded. "I know. Do it anyway." The Earthrise moved to protect the civilian structure, taking hits meant for it. As alarms blared and systems failed, Peter saw another human ship arrive to help, then another and another. Across the battlefield, something unprecedented was happening. Human ships began coordinating in ways the Kurak had never seen. Civilian mining vessels used their equipment as weapons. Transport ships became battering rams, and every human fighter, pilot, and officer seemed to move with that same cold efficiency that had been seen in Alan and Olivia. In her escaped prisoner ship, Olivia Hayes joined the battle alongside Alan Martinez, who had been visiting Earth when the attack began. They fought with the same heightened abilities they had shown before, but this time they weren't alone. "What's happening?" Alan asked as they watched the battle from their small craft. "It's like everyone is." "Like us," Olivia finished. "Everyone is going berserk." But it wasn't rage driving the human defenders. It was that same cold, focused state. A collective berserker response that no alien species had ever witnessed before. Humans working together in perfect coordination, innovating tactics that Kurak battle computers couldn't predict. When the Kurak destroyed the civilian habitat, killing thousands of innocent people, the human response intensified. The collective will of humanity focused on a single goal: protect Earth, defeat the invaders. In 72 hours, it was over. The Kurak fleet was destroyed or captured, their invasion crushed by a force they had severely underestimated. 1 week later, Ambassador Greg Collins stood before the full Concorde Council. The chamber was silent as recordings of the battle played on large screens. "Now you understand," Greg said simply. "What you feared about us is real. But it exists for protection, not conquest." Ambassador Zix stepped forward. "The old warnings were correct. Never make humans go berserk. But perhaps we misunderstood the lesson. Your species unlocks its full potential not through rage or hatred, but through the need to protect." "What happens now?" Greg asked. "Humanity has earned its place in the galaxy," Zix replied. "But you have also confirmed our ancient fears. The question remaining is whether you can control what you've revealed about yourselves." As Earth began to rebuild, the galaxy washed with new understanding. Humans were officially recognized as the most unpredictable species in known space, not because they were violent, but because when pushed to extremes, there seemed to be no limit to what they could achieve. The ultimate warning had been delivered: respect humans, deal with them fairly, and never, ever make them go berserk.